I thought I started the recording. There we go. Okay. Antitrust policy, code of conduct, event survey. You'll be receiving an email on this, but if you want to take a second and do it now, there's the link. This is important for us to provide feedback to the events team and the governing board in terms of how we are doing on these events, what we should change and how we should tweak them to keep them relevant. Our annual report was just released. Jill, you want to say a couple of words about that?
Sure. We've been doing these the past few years, but it's a really good snapshot of, all of the progress that we did in 2022. There's a lot of input here from folks in the community. There's specific project updates, message from the board, some photos from events, just a lot of really good information about the community and how we've progressed. So we'd really encourage you all to just take a look at it. It was really well done. We're really happy with the design and the look of the report this year as well. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a very enjoyable read. It's very visual. It's very graphic. It has nice updates across the board. Yeah, forward it to your managers as well, I'd say, because it is a nice summary. And it is, it's a very pleasant read. Yeah, it's not like hard going. It's very enjoyable.
So drop the link for that into the chat window so you can grab it there. And in case you've missed us mentioning it, please fill out our operations survey. This is what we use to specifically, not for a specific event, but for our overall operations in terms of how we are interacting with the community, how we are providing the services that you're getting from us, and things like that. So please, please, please fill that out for us. It's a massive, massive help. And I will just leave this up on display, and then turn it over to Heather.
Yeah. And just, you've heard me nagging about this at multiple points during this week, but just to say again, we use the data from this to make decisions. And if we don't get lots of input, that means the data we're using for decision making is not as good as it ought to be. This is your ability to help us make better decisions in ways that will impact each and every one of you as open source participants. So and if you don't take the chance to say what your input is and you don't like the direction we're going, you've sort of made that decision. Not, obviously we have to take into account all opinions, and there are going to be some differing ones. But, if you keep silent, you can't be surprised if we can't listen to you. This is our chance to listen to you. Please talk. Well, right, so that we can hear you. All right, so we are now at our closing town hall, and there are two topics that I wanted to bring to the fore. One, I think based on what I have been hearing over the course of the past several days, I wanted a discussion around collaboration with other orgs. And then the other one is just sort of around, sort of general community health and, how are these events, helping us in our current environment, and other things we might do just to, continue to, uplift us and help us in the important work that we're doing. So those are my two topics that I wanted to sort of bring to the fore for us to have as open discussion. Are there any other topics that folks would rather see or perhaps see in addition who are here? Feel free to change my agenda on the fly. Okay, well, that being said, so collaboration. This is a topic that we often talk about. And one of the things I thought was really great this week is that I really felt as though, we've taken our collaboration game, like we've up-leveled it in terms of, we are being better and better about sort of, intra LFN collaboration. I think, what's happened a couple times now, the first day plenary sessions where we're all together and we talk about our shared challenges. I think that is resulting in all of us, feeling as though we're on the same team. And then I particularly thought it was, great that we had some very good collaborative discussion sessions, obviously Nefio, a large chunk of yesterday, as well as, ORAN showing up to the table and, having some good discussions with ORAN. And so I just wanted to, I guess, ask a couple questions. Like one, I felt that was very positive. Kind of want to get a read from y'all. Is that a shared sentiment? And then, talk a little bit about how, there is sometimes, when an event is over, we have great ideas, we get back to the mundane day-to-day operations, and we don't necessarily, what had been sort of a nascent start can sometimes get dropped. So I want to talk a little bit about, and we've had some action items in some individual sessions, but what overall you think some action items might be on the collaborating with other organizations front. So I will amazingly shut my own mouth and open the floor. Please pipe up, or I'll have to talk to fill the silence.
I,
we burned
I think
out.
I think what they're trying to say is they like what you have to say and they want to hear more.
Actually, I would like to specifically reach out to Ken. I know that you've been very active way back on the EUAG, and you've attended a lot of our events, and we don't often hear from you. But when we do, it's always very good. So Ken-san, if you are able to share your thoughts on how things are going, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. Actually, I've been hearing the discussions, and especially about the ONEP transformation or ONEP mainstream discussion. I actually myself don't have any idea, specific ideas on that, but I'm looking forward to the good proceed of the discussion, expecting on it. That's it for now for me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, and I would love to hear as well. I mean, I think yesterday, in the sort of Nefio sessions, I think that there was, I think a fair amount recognized if you look at sort of, Nefio, ONAP, and SMO within ORAN, that there is, some very interesting work going on around management and probably some alignment, as well as sharing the load that can be possible. So if we've got, additional folks here from ONAP, to sort of share their, their feelings after, sort of yesterday's set of meetings with the nephew community.
Yes, regarding nephew, it is clear that there needs to be an architecture discussion to see how nephew can interact with ONAP. But was there already a kind of a clear timeline on the action plan that are concretely need to be taken from one side or the other side in order to plan those architectural talk? Because I understand that there will be talk, but not necessarily kind of a clear plan or agenda for those call to happen to discuss. Because I think to be key to have some kind of planning, open planning to see how the interaction can come to fruition and move forward on both sides. Because I don't see anyone from NATIO, for instance, here right now.
Yeah, I actually don't think that we got to a concrete plan.
Okay.
So
Okay.
at least that was sort of my read. I think that there was interest, but we didn't get to a concrete plan. And maybe that's something that either in this forum or maybe in the ONAP TSC should be sort of a discussion to think through kind of what the steps would be and then figure out how to make a plan around that with the correct.
But since NATIO is part of LFN too, right? So isn't there a board where I mean all LFN project can meet or something like that, or can LFN kind of instigate that discussion by calling a special meeting between different projects?
Oh, absolutely. And we will be working that in the background. Lucy Hyde is their program manager over there. So I will be working with her to try and get something scheduled and get the right people sitting down with each other. We didn't, as Heather said, we didn't take away a specific action plan, but it's scribbled on my whiteboard as a to-do.
Okay. So it's on you. Okay.
So in line with what Marshall just said, I think it's probably happening somewhere, but I'm not aware. How do we align capabilities within LFN and LF in general? Because there's a lot of projects out there who probably have similar capability to some extent. It could be 50% overlap of the same capability to 70% overlap. And I think there needs to be some discussion on alignments of capability that comes out of LF umbrella or LFN umbrella.
So I would like to address your request, Mudassar. I think two parts. One, the LF is home to many open source communities, and it's not like driven by committee. It's the communities themselves who decide what to do and what not to do. So there's no single authority within the communities or within the LF that can tell communities what to do and not to do. And naturally, it would make sense for communities who do similar things to try and coordinate with each other and not try to reinvent the wheel. And as Kenny said, in the specific case of ONAP and nephew, the wheels are already in motion. Second, I would suggest that if these kind of thoughts come up, then we have the TAC platform in the LFN. And I encourage everyone who has some thought that goes beyond their specific project to bring it up in the TAC. There is a group of project representative, company representatives that are there and are looking to make sure that all the LFN projects are going in the right technical direction. And we already identified a few topics that we want to dig deeper into this year, like 6G, metaverse, and also the collaboration with external open source project is on the agenda. So if people have thoughts or ideas on other communities that we need to look at or work with, then please feel free to bring it up with the TAC, and it can be made part of one of the upcoming bi-weekly meetings. So if you don't know, Jason Hunt is the TAC chair. Jason is from IBM, and Catherine Lefebvre from AT&T is the vice chair. So feel free to reach out to any of them and propose discussion topics for the upcoming meeting that could be a good starting point for these kind of discussions.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mudasser, you're as the 5G Super Blueprint rep on the TAC. I think you're uniquely positioned for that.
I'll bring it up.
Congratulations, you asked a question and got an action item. Which should
I
not
think
discourage anyone from asking questions or making comments, by the way.
No, I think it's one of those things that other software warehouses, whoever is bringing software to the market, they always look at their capabilities and their product alignments and alternate or competing solutions. And I think the project or communities within LFN or LF should be doing the same. But because, as Randy mentioned, right, it's a community driven. So intra-community discussion may not be taking place, and that may be producing repetitive work.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm also thinking about, some of the presentations on I think 5G Super Blueprint and Nephew in particular. That was a session I was unable to attend. It conflicted with different session I was in, but I think I think bringing that to sort of an official 5G Super Blueprint meeting is also a good follow-up as well. Okay, and I know that we actually, on the Aniket side, took a couple action items for both Nephew and ORAN engagement. Is there just sort of anything else that anyone wants to add to this topic? I mean, I think that, I really take it as a good sign that both ORAN and Nephew, I mean, Nephew in particular spent, sort of an entire day of our D&TF interacting with us. So, I mean, I think that does say something positive about, how we are viewed and the importance of interaction with our community, right? If people are like, oh, don't want to talk to you, that would be very different. I think that to move it forward, kind of back to Marshall's point, there are some concrete steps that we need to take, and there's going to be lots of actual work. But I feel very confident, and I feel very positive about what LFN obviously means in a wider sense, given the amount of interest and effort in engaging with our community at this D&TF.
Yeah, I think one thing I kind of sensed sitting through Nephew presentation, they're always looking at an abstract master orchestrator. They may not be naming ONAP, but whether it's at Simano or ONAP, there's a need for it in the marketplace. Whereas Nephew, being the domain controller, has defined scope. There may be few things here and there that sort of overlap with the master orchestrator, but I think they are Kubernetes driven, and their scope is kind of revolving around Kubernetes capabilities. So as a master domain controller and as a master orchestrator, there's a place for two things. And I think that's the collaboration point. And I think going forward, ONAP and Nephew program managers should be looking at it. What's a good place for a particular feature or capability, whether it belongs to master orchestrator or domain controller.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. All right. So there's kind of hard work to be done, but I think sort of a good initial feeling on the collaborative front. And yeah, we've only got 4 minutes left, so we might not be able to do a huge deep dive in this topic, but just sort of in general, you know, Kenny and I have been sort of looking at some of the numbers, and you know, it felt as though registrations were a little lower and maybe attendance a little lower for this virtual event compared to virtual events for the past couple of years. And, you know, I'll just say honestly, I've sometimes gotten a bit of a feeling as, you know, priorities shift and we become more mature projects. You know, we're not the shiny objects, we are mature projects, which means that we're adding a lot of value, but maybe don't have the sort of excitement that something new has. That, you know, there's a bit of a getting our groove back. And I'd like to know if other people feel that way or if I am just projecting. And if so, you know, how do we get our groove back, folks? Because we do such interesting work and it's so important.
It's an age-old problem.
Yeah.
The shiny objects always get the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the established mature things are
Left to wither and die on the vine. I get it.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I was going to say are actually delivering sort of real value.
yeah, that's
And dealing with the pain of operations and implementation. I don't think, you know, any of our active projects are in danger of dying on the vine.
Yeah.
I think that it's just, it feels a little bit more like a slog compared to the way it feels being shiny. And we're doing great work, and I think we deserve to feel happy.
Well, happiness is a construct that, you know, if you're trying to help those people that are working on those mature projects to remain happy, that's there are a number of ways to do that. All people-oriented things, and Heather, I'll be happy to share the myriad of things I have in my mind with you at some point soon.
Okay, that would be
So,
great.
yeah.
And just so folks know, that and events are going to be my focus areas for 2023. Just so you know that, you know, we are wanting to make this community feel appreciated and valued and supported and empowered, and really put a focus on the community and the community participants. So,
So Heather, one thing that I thought that Powell did a good job in his presentation, bringing some user perspective from 4 different organizations today. If we can figure out how we can highlight the testimonial of user community, like a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, Orange presented how they were trying to solve CPE, virtual CPEs in Egypt for high-speed data networks. I think these kind of testimonial or you know, poster boy projects will generate enthusiasm and probably will have effect on other companies in the audience, how they can benefit from it. I was really surprised early in November D&TF when one of the Chinese participant presented about how they deploy the network using partially ONAP, and also made some changes to their dashboarding and data collection to suit their needs. I think these kind of user testimonial stories can help generate some enthusiasm.
yeah. I know Jill's on the call and she can probably speak up. I think that it is easier for us to get sort of informal presentations and something like a D&TF from some of the operators than sort of like big public testimonials. We have run into the internal bureaucracy of very large organizations in a number of cases when in terms of publishing user case studies.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hurdle, right? It's because the IT strategy of a company is a business secret. So even revealing the vendors or the architecture is not good for the competition, right? So they like to keep it secret, but we need to figure out what is the easiest way to use some of these testimonials.
Yeah. And without getting any of our community members in trouble with their internal legal or PR teams. All right. No, I mean, I think what you're saying is true, and it's something the marketing team definitely focuses on, and it's something that we do run into a number of challenges. I don't know, Jill, if you're still here, if you want to comment at all on that, or Brandon, I know you're not LF staff anymore, but I know that you have run into these challenges as well when you were here.
Yeah, I'm still on. Heather, I think you captured it pretty accurately. I mean, it's there. We know that there's a ton of activity going on, and we know that these projects are being used all across the board, but we're having a very difficult time getting the permission and getting access to the people who know how they're being used and letting us tell that story in a broad way. I don't have an easy solution to this. It's something we've been dealing with for the past several years. We do have a growing number, though, of stories that we have been able to publish. What we're really looking for is we want to tell more stories about how our projects are being used across, with combined projects and across different industries. We've got a lot of own app stories, which is great, but we also want to showcase what some of the other projects are doing as well. So if you know of anything, if you're involved in anything that is taking project code into deployment and you want to be highlighted, let me know. We can sometimes get around corporate policies by not naming a company. Of course, that makes the story a little weaker, but it is something that we're willing to work around if we need to.
Yeah, what Jill said.
A major company in the transportation industry did this.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is that it is I think that you're spot on that it brings highlight, it makes the projects feel that their work is appreciated. It generates positive buzz. We do struggle with companies being willing to do it. And so, yeah. So if anyone has clever ideas, or the thing is, you can always reach out to the marketing team with as Jill said, like, here's a cool idea, but that I know of, or I heard about in a TSC meeting, or in a project meeting, right? Because we're not in all of the places where all conversations occur. I don't know if it can be. You could even just say, I don't know what we can do with it, but I thought it was cool. You can drop us a line and we can collaborate on it as well. And it's fun working with Jill's team. Because it's positive, and Jill and Hano and Sunny are just, they're delightful and fun to work with.
And they put up with me, so.
We're
Man,
not
they
going to
have
talk
to
about
be.
that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to be able to put, oh man, I have a finer appreciation for you now, Jill.
You gotta love the snark.
Yep. Thank you.
Heather,
Okay,
you
so
never say that release management is delightful to work with.
Release management's not meant to be delightful. It's meant to keep things on course. But you are delightful, David.
Well, sir.
Marketing is pink unicorns. Release management is sticks and deadlines.
It's the orc under the bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
That's how you know you're doing a good job, though.
I don't think I've ever been described as both delightful and an orc in such a short space of time.
Well, see that you're making progress here.
Yeah.
Branching
All
out.
right. All right. Well, we are past time.
Yep, we are past time. I'd like to go ahead and close things out, and I'm actually going to hop on the NetFio TSC call.
Yeah.
There you go. Have
And
fun.
I just want to end with a thank you. Thank you for all of you who stayed through the end to this conversation. And thank you to all of you for your participation and energy and insight the past several days. These things kind of come together a bit last minute. And then when we're here having these grassroots discussions, they are so inspirational and so productive. And that's the case because of all of you. So I communicate gratitude from the bottom of my heart. And Kenny, you can close it down and get to hop to your next meeting.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
folks.
Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care.
folks.
Bye.